If you're not familiar with Ola Englund, he's the current guitarist for The Haunted. He has his own YouTube channel and he does a lot of guitar videos and gear reviews and all that type of stuff. And he recently uploaded this video called How to Write Killer Metal Riffs. I haven't checked it out yet because I wanted to see if I would be able to write something while playing it. I'm not sure how it's gonna work. I'm gonna be using my Easy Mix 2 preset that I use for everything. I haven't tuned this guitar yet. I forgot the most important piece of gear. I'll be right back. Wine. Just gonna load up Ola's video, and I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know what's gonna happen.
So one of the most common questions I get is, Ola, how the do you write your riffs? And the reason I haven't really made a video on this is because I have no friggin' clue how I come up with riffs. I did a video on how I write leads because I kind of know how I do it. And click here. Is it here? Yes. Click here if you want to see that approach. But for this video, I've actually thought long and hard how I go about writing riffs. And just as a disclaimer for snowflakes, this approach is how I look at riffs and how I go about writing them. It might not apply to you or the type of music you like, so take all of this with a grain of salt, okay? But hopefully this video might inspire you to change up your writing or try something new, who knows. What's important is that you find an approach that works for you. I kind of feel like I'm the responsible parent right now, here to tell you that you don't have to listen to my shit. First of all, I always thought that a very crucial part of why it is relatively easy for me to write riffs has been because I've always been writing riffs. Like, since ever I started playing guitar, so about 20 years or something like that. So it's basically the same as practicing speed. You also need to practice writing. And the more you practice, the quicker you will come up with riffs. It's just simple as that. Anyway, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to break down the different ways that I come up with riffs. But let me explain to you what I consider makes a good riff. Now, one of the first riffs I ever heard that really affected me in the sense that, like, this is a really good riff. It was the Pantera riff for the song Walk that goes like this. Now, what makes that riff memorable and why is it good? First of all, it's easy. It's easy to get a grip of, even for non-guitar players, and it sticks in your head and you never forget it. It has that awesome groove, you know, that make you nod your head. Also, it has a small element to it that makes it unique, and it's that simple bend, you know. Yeah. Rather than going. I mean, all these elements to this simple riff is what makes it great. So when I'm writing riffs, I'm trying to go for the same type of approach. I try not to overwork the riff. I try to make riff that sticks, and I try to find a groove. Now, there are a couple of different ways for me to write riffs. And the first approach, which is what I've always been doing, is just to sit and have fun with the guitar. Fool around and just randomly play, and very important that you take your time with this. Allow yourself to be bored with it. Sit for hours. I promise you, out of, like, if you sit down for 2 hours, you might at least make one great riff. And with this, if possible, record yourself as well. Press record and just noodle around. Like, for instance, I have Logic Pro X that I use, but you have Cubase, Pro Tools, or whatever is simple program that you can record yourself with. And just sit and record yourself playing. I mean, I start recording, and if I come up with something that's cool, I just cut it out like this. Maybe I make it a different color, who knows? Oh, okay, green means okay. So I basically just cut out that part, and maybe I re-record it better or whatever, and I mark it in another color. And that way, you won't lose those ideas that comes randomly. And after this, I save that riff into a folder of riffs. So let me show you real quick. I have here, so in Dropbox, for instance, I have something called riff and ideas. And it's very simple. Here I categorize riffs. So whenever I'm writing a song that needs a riff and I feel like I can't really make anything up, I can go to my riff library and I can quickly find something that would fit. And it might not be a sexy approach, but this is a very efficient approach to writing songs for me, okay? Now, the second way of me writing riffs, and this comes from me playing together with a band, is to jam out riffs together with a drummer. And when I was a teenager, I would go with my drummer to the rehearsing room and just jam. And with that, you would write riffs and ideas in a totally different manner than if you were by yourself. Now, unfortunately, I do not have the time anymore to go jam with a drummer, which of course is a shame, but you know how it is. You know, you have family life, you have work, you have video games, you know. But what I do instead is that I try to emulate this type of jam session with using a drum track in Logic. So what I do is that I load up a software drummer like this, and then I just wait for it to load.
Okay. Should I do that? All right, I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna watch the whole thing. I'm gonna wait.
I find a groove, maybe with a slightly more impressive drum kit. So I make a drum pattern, or I just find one in Superior Drummer free here, and I just jam along to it until I come up with something cool. Very stupid. But, you know, at least you're playing something because you have to play along with those drums, and it forces you to kind of come up with ideas, basically. And so basically you're just improvising up riffs. And this just gives a totally different vibe of riff, and usually the more simple riffs are written this way for me. So if you don't have a drummer to jam with, just load up a drum track and jam to that. It works, I promise, okay? Now, those are the main ways that I go about writing, but you also have to remember that while one riff can be very powerful, you can add more of a dimension if your second guitar plays something different. You can add a harmony or a dissonant chord or just a totally different riff that accompanies the main riff, and the possibilities are endless with this. And the most simple riff can become absolutely monstrous if it's accompanied by a second riff. A great example for this is a part of the song, the Haunted song, Brute Force. I have this really cool picking riff that goes like this. Very simple. And while that riff is cool by its own, so I just decided to add a very simple pattern of chords underneath that riff that goes like this. Very simple, but together, let me record that real quick. Okay, let me record a second guitar. that simple, small little detail makes the whole riff sound even more eerie and more haunting in that way. No pun. So when you have that awesome riff, try to, change it up. Can you make it better? Can you add something to make it even better? So think about that and just be careful not to overwork it. If you just layer a lot of harmonies and riffs and guitars together, it will turn into mush after a while. And if you feel like nothing is coming out, you're just sitting there and you're playing and no good riffs coming out of your system. And even if you use the approaches that I mentioned, and not a single good riff is coming out of your fragile fingers, a simple trick is just to listen to new music that you haven't heard, or old music that you like for that matter. I mean, listen to the music that you enjoy and get inspired. And I do that all the time when I'm in a rut and I feel like I'm not writing any good riffs. And it really inspires me to, find something new and, think out of the box. It's really good for you, okay? Okay, hope some of these approaches might give you an idea or two. And like I said in the beginning, I think it's just as important to practice this just as much as it's important to practice any other guitar technique that you want to improve. Eventually, it will be easier for you to make up riffs and songs, and just have a bit of patience, okay? And please, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, okay? I've noticed that half of my viewers today are non-subscribers. What the hell is up with that? Don't miss out, subscribe, okay? Be a nice guy. But before leaving, I would like to give you my secret weapon of riff writing. This approach is something that was brought down from generations upon generations of riff writers. And it's something we riff writers don't talk about that much. But I can assure you that 80% of all the great riffs you love are written using this approach. And now I'm passing on this secret to you guys. So let me show you.
It works.
Yes! Oh.
No way. He's gonna...
Not too bad.
Okay. All right, that was pretty awesome as always, and definitely a lot of good ideas. I also have well, I mean, at least that's how I do it. But I also do this thing where if I'm not playing guitar, or if I'm doing something that I'm nowhere near a guitar or anything, I just sing it. I grab my phone and I just sing the riff, and then when I get home or buy a guitar, I just try to figure it out. And that's another way that works for me. But I'm gonna try to follow the video and see if I can come up with something that sounds cool. All right, well, let's try that. Drop your pick on you. like that dan. All right. Need a better ending to that, so that's a cool idea. I'm gonna go with that. I don't really riff the way Ola does, where I don't do stuff like that. But I'm gonna go with this chord riff and see if I can get a good drum beat going with it afterwards. I'm gonna record it real quick so I don't forget it. So let's set up the recording of that. So okay, turn off the click track. Something like that. So I'm gonna stop that real quick and see if I can get some sort of drum pattern going with this. Grab Easy Drummer, and I'm gonna just try to find a riff that goes with it. Oh, I messed up. I'm trying to do. I should try to figure out the click. Something like. Honestly, I suck at trying to find the metronome. I mean the BPMs and stuff. I just mess around. Maybe 75. That's a little too slow. Okay, I'm gonna go with 74. Okay, 76, and that's probably it. 76 looks good. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 76 and see if. And I'm just gonna throw a couple of drums in there, just random drums. Tap to find. Something like that. Okay, show results, and I'm gonna go with the highest voted one because that will probably sound better. Whoops. I'm gonna go with that one for now, and then we're gonna try the second method of import note. So something like this. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna copy those drums and do them again. Whoops, my bad. I'm gonna copy those drums and play with those and see if I can find a second part to this riff. And I'm just gonna play with it for a while. I'm gonna loop this so I can just. So So that sounded kind of cool. I'm just gonna see how it sounds after I record it. Click track on there. So that sounded kind of cool, but I kind of messed up a little bit, so I'm going to cut that up a bit. Whoops. Right there. So I'm going to cut that one too, right there. And since I like the ending to that, I'm just going to cut the other riff off and leave that. I'm gonna save this, I'm gonna clean up these riffs, and I'm gonna throw a bass line on there, and so that was pretty cool. Definitely got some interesting views on how Ola writes his stuff. I don't know what I was expecting, but that's probably the best thing about something. You just go in there not expecting anything, and something cool comes out of it. And thank you for watching this video. Yeah.